Hi there, and welcome to the Alberta Update, a look at what is happening in your province. I am your host, Bruce McAllister. Thank you for being with us today. Coming up on the program, the Premier will drop by. She's had a very busy schedule of late, but we'll get her thoughts on the latest whopper of a bill from Ottawa. Minister Rebecca Schulz will be here. She'll talk in depth about Bill C-59 and the impact it'll have on the province and our energy workers. And Minister Demetrios Nicolaides will join us. We'll talk about the new rule to keep cell phones out of the classrooms, all that and much more straight ahead on the Alberta Update. First, we say good day to the Premier, who is good enough to join us again. Premier, thank you for popping by.
Hi, Bruce.
Let's start with this one. Just when you thought it couldn't get any more challenging for Albertans when it comes to legislation from Ottawa, well, we get Bill C-59. This is basically a gag order on oil and gas companies, as many have described it. Can you give us your opinion on this, and are we able to challenge it in any way?
Well, I can tell you this is NDP policy. When Charlie Angus came up with the private members bill a few weeks ago, we thought it was bananas. It's some kind of deranged vendetta against our oil and gas industry. And I didn't think too much of it, but to see that they, in the final hours of passing their Budget Implementation Act, brought through an amendment that essentially built in all of the same crazy language, making it essentially illegal for an oil and natural gas producing company to talk about their environmental record and the progress that they're making on emissions reduction. That has had an immediate impact. We've seen that the energy companies, afraid of frivolous lawsuits, let's be clear about why they had to react this way. They're afraid of frivolous lawsuits that will lock them up in courts for weeks or months or years. They made the decision to pull their advertising pending some clarity on how this is going to be interpreted. I have no idea how it's going to be interpreted. They talk about having to have internationally recognized standards for how you measure these things. What are they referring to? I don't know what internationally recognized standard they're talking about. The federal government has different data than we have. They use environmental groups who have questionable methods for how they develop their methodology. That's not credible either. We're going to make sure that we stand up from a constitutional point of view to challenge their intervention in our area of jurisdiction, and we're going to make sure that we stand up for the charter rights of not only us but also our energy companies to ensure that we have the ability to talk about our industry and its incredible environmental record.
It's bananas. Like some of these companies, as you know, already scrubbing their websites. They're just not sure what content they can leave up. Minister of Environment and Rebecca Schulz is going to join us in a few minutes to talk about this more in depth. I've got a few other things to chat with you about. Despite these inflationary challenges that we're facing from Ottawa and its policies, still great progress on the economy. Alberta's fiscal update was released this week. Balanced books and more money ever for education and healthcare. Are you happy with the path we are on?
Look, I have to tell you, and I know that people might be surprised at the level of the surplus, but this is good news because we have to budget in a way that's prudent. We have no idea what oil and natural gas prices are going to be when we start the year, but we know that they can probably go as low as $65 a barrel. And we were very fortunate that oil ended up averaging over $77 a barrel last year. So what we're trying to do is maintain a level of spending that we know in good times and bad we'll be able to run a balanced budget. And then when we have a surplus, we're able to do some things with that. We're able to pay down debt, which allows us to free up some money in finance charges that we can put towards operational spending. It improves our credit rating when we do that as well. And it gets us on a pathway of being debt-free like we used to be prior to the NDP coming into office. We also are allowed, those extra dollars enable us to put money into our Heritage Savings Trust Fund. That will allow us to grow that fund to, I hope, $250 billion. So it becomes a new source of revenue so that we can wean ourselves off that revenue roller coaster. And now we also have a few extra dollars as well that we can start putting towards some priority items. We know, for instance, that we're going to have to accelerate school construction. We're going to have to accelerate construction of hospital facilities, mental health facilities, addiction facilities, assisted living facilities. There are road projects that need to be constructed. So we've structured those surpluses so that they can be used for that kind of one-time spending. And I'm very pleased that the finance minister, once again, was able to make sure that even though we had a huge cost last year of $3 billion to get us through the fire season and dealing with all of the evacuations that occurred then. I'm just so pleased that we're able to be in a position where we're doing record spending on healthcare, record spending on education, $8 billion per year capital funding plan, keeping us with the lowest tax environment in the entire country, continuing to attract businesses here, and also be able to run surpluses to pay down debt and save some money. I think that's what we were elected on doing, and that's what we're going to keep on doing.
Well, speaking of attracting business, another major project, industrial project coming with Shell. They announced a couple of carbon capture and storage facilities. More great news in investment.
No, it's amazing to see this. We are so far ahead of so many other jurisdictions. Other jurisdictions are just now talking about carbon capture and mapping out their pore space and trying to build infrastructure. We're there with the Shell Quest project and the carbon trunk line. We have already sequestered 13 megatons of emissions, and we're going to be on track to keep on sequestering at a rate of about 4.5 megatons a year. So we've already proven this technology at scale, and now that we've got 25 additional potential hubs, 2 of them that were just announced with Shell, that's going to be a major economic driver. What we want to be is we want to be known for not only a place that is a reliable producer and provider of energy and food, but also able to do those things in a way that has the lowest emissions profile on the planet, so that people can feel good about being able to purchase from us, knowing that we're reducing emissions. So I think to see these kinds of projects go ahead and make final investment decision, I think it sends exactly the right message to the world. This is the place to invest, and we can do it responsibly.
Premier, you, like a lot of Albertans, had a lot of fun thanks to the Edmonton Oilers and the amazing run that they went on in the playoffs. Of course, they came up a little bit short. Are you over the heartbreak of that? And have you made good on your bet with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis?
Oh, doesn't it just break your heart? Oh, my boys, they were all so injured. We find out after the fact that Draisaitl, I think, playing with a broken rib, and it sounds like McDavid is also playing with an injury, and they just put their heart and soul into it. To be short by 1 goal, right after all of that, I think it's been a heartbreak for everybody. But you know what? I just love Edmonton Oilers fans. I think everybody has been. They took it in stride. In some communities, they don't take losses in stride, and so I'm very proud of how our fans dealt with the loss. And when it comes to making good on the bet, I guess we've got Governor Ron DeSantis. He's going to enjoy some fine Alberta whiskey. I've got a number of candidates that are lined up as a potential. I might end up having to send them a box because we've got so many incredible micro distilleries here. But I'll make good on it. I was looking forward to some key lime pie, but who knows? Next year, maybe.
Maybe next year. Okay, one more, and this is another hard-hitting question. You know what's coming? The greatest outdoor show on earth. Have you dusted off your boots yet? It's almost time.
Woo! Well, I put my boots on and I realized they were still dusty from the last time I wore them. So I'm getting them all polished up so that I can make sure that I'm kicking around. I've got a lot of events to go to. So if anyone sees me, they should come up and say hi, and we can chat a little bit about some of the issues that are on people's mind. It's such a great time to connect with people. And also, you hear about the things that people are thinking are going really well, and they'll also tell you about the things that are not going so well. And it's a good chance for me to hear directly from Calgarians in particular. And I just love the fact that we've got our beautiful city and our province on showcase to the world. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers showcased us to the world. Greatest outdoor show on earth. Adds to that, we've got a delegation of U.S. officials that are going to be coming to Alberta to learn a little bit more about our value proposition and what a great trading partner we are. That's been organized by our U.S. office in Washington with James Rajat. So we'll have a lot more to say about that. But we're looking forward to not only having a good time, but showing you a good time as well. I should mention, because you know this as well, Bruce, that we do the Premier's Breakfast on the first Monday of Stampede. And so maybe this is my formal invitation for everyone to come down and enjoy some bacon and some flapjacks.
Come on, see us at McDougall Center. It's going to be great. And with that, we'll say Yahoo or Yeehaw if it's your preference. Premier, thanks for this. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
It seemed like a far-fetched idea, didn't it? But the federal government has now passed Bill C-59, which will place a gag order on Canada's energy sector. The Premier just touched on it, of course. We're going to talk to Environment and Protected Areas Minister Rebecca Schulz. Minister, before we get to our conversation, I just want to look at some of the video that you did. Here's a quick clip from the explainer that you did on this bill.
Have you heard about the Liberal NDP coalition's most recent attack on our energy industry, Alberta, and our constitutional rights? Well, they've introduced a new censorship bill that allows courts to fine businesses and companies over $15 million for sharing factual information that just simply doesn't fit with their eco-radical views. Put simply, this is a gag order and an attack on freedom of speech. This sounds like it's something out of George Orwell's 1984, but it's actually happening right here in Canada, and it's led by radical anti-oil and gas activists. It builds on NDP MP Charlie Angus's motion earlier this year. He threatened fines and jail time for Canada's oil and gas industry if they tried to defend their record on the environment. Canadians from coast to coast were immediately outraged, and the bill was laughed off as just plain crazy. Until now. An amendment to Bill C-59, the federal government's budget bill, clears the way for eco-activists to sue companies who share information that they simply don't like.
Okay, there it is. So my first question is, how in the world does something like this pass through Parliament? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, what a great question. I mean, in your intro remarks, when you said that, the first time this was raised, it was MP Charlie Angus's private member's motion, and people laughed it off, like as if this could ever happen in Canada. That is wild. But that's exactly what happened here with the Liberal NDP coalition. They snuck this in as an amendment to Bill C-59, which essentially was a budget bill. And so there were a lot of things riding on that, including, the government. And so it snuck through with very little fanfare. And I think, some of the comments, even a Trudeau-appointed senator said, look, I don't know if we exactly understand the risks and how this is going to work, and raised concerns, and yet it was rammed through anyways. And it does have significant impacts, not just on our energy industry, though, Bruce. This is far more wide-reaching than this. I mean, when we have a federal environment minister that says we're not going to build any more roads, I think you can be sure that he's coming after transportation next. Agriculture, again, thinking we have a federal government who didn't want farmers to use fertilizer on their crops. This is going to impact many areas of our economy.
All right, I want to follow up on a few things. And I just want to mention, first of all, to those of you watching, if you want to see the minister's full video, I think it was about 4 minutes long. We didn't air the full thing. You can find it on our socials for sure. It's making the rounds, and it's very good. Minister, you mentioned in the video, companies could face a $15 million fine for sharing information about emissions reduction. What impacts are we already seeing because of this? I mean, what kind of damage could be done?
Yeah, here's the challenge is right away we have companies who are very concerned about the provisions in that act and what that means for them. So right now, if a group of maybe environmental activists or NGOs doesn't like a certain industry, they can question or bring forward these claims under these aspects of this bill, which then puts industry in a really tough position. In our industries, our record is a good one. It's one that we're proud of when it comes to emissions reduction, specifically in energy. I mean, as energy production is going up to meet global demand, our emissions are going down. Our overall emissions intensity, per barrel emissions, going down in the oil sands. They've gone down about 21%. Electricity emissions are down 53%. Our methane emissions are down 45%. Our record is one that we are so incredibly proud of. We talk about the work that's happening in technology and innovation. Now, any of those statements that I just shared, now a company cannot share them without great risk. And of course, companies have investors, they have shareholders. And again, there was no consultation on this. There is no clarity on what this actually looks like from a process perspective. And so, not only have we seen, I would say Pathways and the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, I believe EPAC had a statement on it as well. So yeah, our energy producers are in opposition to this, but so too is the Business Council of Alberta and other groups who represent a broader swath of industries, all saying, this is wildly unfair and it creates a huge amount of uncertainty. And it's going to have reporting concerns as well for these companies and in their investment reporting as well. And I mean, Canada now has said, okay, well, we're going to consult on what that looks like, but that's not very helpful after the bill has already been passed.
Exactly. Look, I think the Calgary Chamber, you know better than I, but I think Deborah Edelin was making
Yes.
a comment about her concern as well. So, okay, what can the government do about it? What can Albertans do about it?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you also mentioned the chamber. I met with them this week, and again, a wide variety of folks from different businesses saying, like, how does this happen in Canada? And so what we're going to do, we are working with industry, and of course, we're working with Minister Amory and his department on what this looks like from our perspective. First of all, Premier has said we are going to challenge the federal government once again in court. Like, I think you see a pattern here, but we're pretty confident obviously in our record from what we saw on the Impact Assessment Act, Bill C-69, the plastics legislation, and the courts, ruling, I think, in our favor on the unconstitutionality of those pieces of legislation. But message to Minister Guilbeault, we will see you in court once again. And, just to point out, like, I think that the outrage from the NGOs and the activist left when we started raising concerns about this bill tells us that that's exactly what they were going to do all along. And when you think about the fact that we live in Canada, we live in a country where one would suspect we would be able to have freedom of speech, and now you have a government saying you can only speak freely and you can only share facts if they fit with our narrative and our way of viewing the world, and that's a pretty scary place to be.
Exactly. Some of these companies are already scrubbing their websites and taking information down just to be sure and be safe. It seems so crazy to me. Hey, a new report by Deloitte, you're probably aware of, said that the proposed federal oil and gas emissions cap could cost Canadians $282 billion, $282 billion in GDP over 10 years. Your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are, again, this is the third report that we've seen that talks about these massive impacts to the Canadian economy, tens of thousands of jobs, just directly, quite frankly, in our energy industry, not to count the other impacted jobs in service industries and other related industries. With those type of facts, it just seems so reckless that the federal government would continue to go down this path of implementing a policy that would have that kind of impact on the Canadian economy. I think it is reckless. And I also think that, once again, the key piece is that it also demonstrates that production of oil and gas is going to be limited by this oil and gas cap, which is what we've been saying all along on the constitutionality concerns that we have about the federal government's proposed emissions cap, which we imagine to be coming out this fall.
You just returned from a trip to Washington, so I'll ask you a bit of a two-parter. Number one, what's your takeaway, I guess, for Albertans? And number two, I'm curious, as I think a lot of people would be, what is your U.S. counterpart's reaction to what the federal Liberals are doing with our energy industry?
Oh, wow. Well, first, I'll tell you, the last day we were there in meetings, one person specifically asked me, Canada, like, do you not have constitutionally protected freedom of speech? What is going on up there? Just so embarrassing, I have to say. And that was really related to Bill C-59 and not being able to talk about the great work that our energy industry is doing. And I think, in a broader sense last week, I often think about the Premier's goals to telling Alberta's story. And she does such a great job of that, Bruce. And I, think that was reiterated in the meetings that I had last week about the importance of us, when we look at the fact that I think it was almost 60% of American oil imports are coming from Alberta. We are very key trading partners for the U.S. And in every conversation that I had, whether it be there were some congressional groups, we met with the Special Presidential Envoy on Climate. We have some differences of opinion on how we approach some of those issues, but I think it's good to have the conversation about our record with their Department of State for Energy to talk about what we're doing on emissions reduction, how we are stepping up production to meet global demand, and then to talk about all of the amazing technology that's happening here in Alberta. It really reiterated what the Premier's approach has been, which is really to get out there, to make connections, to tell our story, and to look for opportunities to partner, especially when people are looking to Canada to step up and meet global demands, not only for energy, but for food production and other resources. And so it was a busy week, but a productive one. And I just, I have to say, people have really appreciated our government's approach to building those connections across multiple ministries, and of course, starting with our Premier.
Well, thanks for telling our story. And Minister, I just want to say you're always so gracious with your time. We appreciate you coming on here. Hope you get a bit of a break this summer, and we'll see you soon.
Sounds great.
There is Minister of Environment and Protected Areas, that is Rebecca Schulz, joining us on the Alberta Update. Well, we have some agriculture news to share with you today. Dairy Innovation West is building Canada's first state-of-the-art milk concentration plant right here in Alberta, thanks to the Agri-Processing Investment Tax Credit Program. Through these kinds of tax incentives and advantages, the government is ensuring that Alberta continues to be the premier destination for investments in agriculture and agri-food processing.
I'm RJ Sigurdsson, Alberta's Minister for Agriculture and Irrigation. Alberta is home to one of Canada's strongest ag sectors, and dairy production is a significant contributor. In 2023, Alberta farmers produced just shy of 840 million litres of milk, almost 10% of Canada's total. And our dairy manufacturing industry employs more than 3,000 people. Recognizing the important role of Alberta's dairy sector, I'm thrilled that Dairy Innovation West Buildings and Land Corporation has qualified for the Agri-Processing Investment Tax Credit Program. When the $73.7 million facility opens in Black Falls in 2025, it will process up to 300 million litres of milk sourced from Western producers each year. It will create as well 185 permanent and temporary jobs. Once Dairy Innovation West opens, it will transform raw milk into a new concentrated form for transportation to other processors.
We picked this location because in Alberta, this is where the majority of the dairy farmers are. We have this plant here that does ultrafiltration and reverse osmosis. We're taking 3-4 trucks and actually concentrating the proteins and the volume, and then we're really having one truck leaving the facility.
Alberta producers are already stewards of the environment, and this facility will help the dairy industry take it to the next level. I'm thrilled to see this landmark facility being built right here in Alberta. The Agri-Processing Investment Tax Credit Program is doing its job, helping our province become a hotbed for major investments in food and agri-processing.
Post-secondary education, we know, plays a critical role in Alberta's economy by providing students with skills needed to begin rewarding careers in high-demand fields. Lethbridge College will soon become Alberta's newest polytechnic institution. In Alberta, polytechnic status gives post-secondary institutions more opportunities to create a wide spectrum of programming to meet local needs, including degree, diploma, certificate, and apprenticeship education. This transition will enable Lethbridge College to focus on hands-on technology learning and enrich educational opportunities for people in southern Alberta. Alberta's Minister of Education, Demetrios Nicolaides, joins us now to talk about some big changes coming to Alberta classrooms. Good day, Minister.
Good day. How are you, Bruce?
I'm well, thanks. Listen, I don't know that any minister has done as many interviews as you have the last couple of weeks. Obviously, a lot of people wanted to weigh in on the big decision to take cell phones out of the classrooms. Tell us more about that decision and what it means.
Yeah, absolutely. So the decision, just to summarize, is to remove cell phones from the class. So students can continue to use them during breaks and recess, before and after school, but not during class time. It's not just phones. This includes personal mobile devices, smartwatches, earbuds, and other pieces. Of course, there are exceptions. If a student needs to use it for medical purpose or for special learning needs, they're allowed to. Otherwise, these devices are not permitted during class time. In addition, we're also asking and directing our school boards to limit access to social media sites. This is being done for two main reasons. Number one, to remove distractions from the classroom. When our students and our kids are in the classroom, they need to be focused on their learning and retention of learning goals as a top priority. And secondly, we want to work to make sure that we're doing what we can to reduce instances of bullying, cyberbullying, online harassment, intimidation, or other things that may occur on social media. So those are our two primary objectives. We heard overwhelmingly from parents and teachers that they want this. We did a survey and 68,000 folks responded to the survey. It was the highest responded survey in Alberta government history. And they were quite unanimous that they wanted more restrictions put in place.
Okay, let me follow up on that. And you may have just touched on it, but this stems, I guess, from your commitment. I remember you making a commitment earlier this year, and you said you were going to talk to parents, you were going to talk to teachers, education partners about the use of cell phones in the classroom. So, again, some of the numbers that led to this, it seems like it was a pretty overwhelming support to do this.
Yes, there was quite overwhelming support. I talked with school boards. I have a youth council that I meet with quarterly. I talked to them about the subject throughout February, March, and April. Talked with the Alberta Teachers Association. And then again, as I mentioned, we did this survey. And the respondents were overwhelming in their response that they wanted more restrictions to be put in place. There were very few people who really viewed the addition of cell phones in the classroom as being a positive force. Even teachers, we didn't see any big difference between teachers and parents in the responses. Teachers were just as in favor of limiting these distractions as were parents. So it was good to see that from the different constituent groups who were replying to the survey that we were getting quite a degree of consensus about what to do.
Minister, is it province-wide?
Yes, the rules are province-wide, so this will affect all schools, including public, Catholic, charter, independent as well, will be province-wide. Each school board will have some autonomy and some wiggle room, primarily around enforcement, because we recognize that not every two school boards or every two school is the same. So we're giving the school boards flexibility to determine where the devices should be stored. The guidance that we're providing is that they must be turned off and out of sight. So some, have pouches at the front where they put their phones in and they get a number and then they, like a coat check and then return their number and get their phone back. Others have lockers, others have other. So we give them that flexibility. And in addition, the enforcement and the consequences for non-compliance will be determined locally by the school boards.
So when you hear about something like this, look, this is a huge move. And like you said, I think most parents and teachers seem to support it. There'll be some bumps for people to get used to it. What about academic studies? Is there any research been done to show, how positive this might be on kids, for kids?
Yeah, there's a pile of academic research in this area, and there was a study. I believe it was in Sweden or might have been the United Kingdom, but they looked at academic performance of students in situations where they had removed cell phones and other distractions, and were able to show that there was some improvement in academic performance after rules such as this were put in place. There's also a number of studies that really point to the distraction that these devices can cause. There was one in particular that I remember where they had two groups of students. One control group, no phones. They received a 20-minute lecture and then were asked to fill out a quiz. Another group had cell phones, same instruction, same quiz, but the group that had the cell phones, even though they weren't allowed to use it, the researchers pinged the phones and sent notifications to the phones throughout the duration of the lecture. Those students, without even using the phones, just having them on their desk and the distractions, performed poorly, much more poorly than their counterparts who did not have the phones.
I wonder how many people watching right now can relate to what you and I go through in a meeting when the phones are present and the pings and the beeps and the distractions. Everybody can relate these days. Hey, listen, before I let you go, it's grad season, and I'm sure you want a message to the graduates out there. Big time of the year for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, would love the opportunity. Thanks, Bruce. Of course, yeah, end of school year and grad season to all of the grads. I wish you all the very best and congratulations, first and foremost, on getting to this milestone and reaching the completion of this part of your life and of your academic journey. I know there's multiple paths available to our grads, whether that's work, post-secondary, or other options. And so just want to say congratulations, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah, well said. I've got one in my house this year. Excited for the USC next year. Minister, thank you for this. Thank you for your work. Enjoy the Stampede. We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much. You as well, Bruce. All the best.
There's the Minister of Education, Demetrios Nicolaides, on the Alberta Update with us today. Well, Minister of Technology and Innovation, Nate Glubish, announced a joint investment between Alberta and the federal government, which will connect 14,000 more rural Alberta households to high-speed internet. This means that more Albertans, of course, can stay connected with friends and family across government services and open the door to a wider range of economic and educational opportunities.
Hi, it's Goody Hutchings, your Federal Minister of Rural Economic Development, and I'm delighted to be back in Alberta with my friend and colleague, Nate Glubish. Nate, we're here in this amazing historical site, but tell us why we're here today and what we announced.
We are so excited to be announcing over $150 million investment, shared 50-50 between the province of Alberta and the Government of Canada to invest in reliable high-speed internet. Over 120 communities and over 14,000 households are going to be connected to reliable internet.
Nate, you hit the nail on the head because this is the equalizer for every community, no matter where you are, Indigenous, rural, remote. High-speed internet is the equalizer. It's an equalizer for economic growth, for businesses that can grow their business now and find global markets. It's yes, kids doing their homework, and yes, people working from home. It's access to virtual healthcare, which is saving governments thousands of money. And it's access in time of need, in emergencies. It's incredible, and I can't wait to see the economic growth in this area once we get these communities connected.
Yeah. Well, and that's why our partnership between the Government of Alberta and the Government of Canada through the Universal Broadband Fund, with our shared commitment to deliver universal connectivity to every Albertan, no matter where they live in the province, is so important, and we can't wait to get the job done.
A warning from the Minister of Service Alberta and Red Tape Reduction about a scam that is targeting Albertans. Scammers are posing as the Department of Service Alberta via text messages. Here's what you need to know. They're offering money and requesting, of course, as they always do, your personal banking information for fake refunds or for payments. If you receive one of these texts, do not click on anything. Do not click on the links. Do not provide any personal or banking information. If you receive any of these spam messages, these scam messages, you are encouraged to report it to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Well, we know Alberta has some of the most spectacular parks in the entire country. Our province takes great pride, of course, in welcoming millions of visitors to Alberta every year, and a new plan for the future of recreation and conservation in Alberta's provincial parks is in the works, and the government is asking you to weigh in.
Hi, I'm Todd Lowen, Minister of Forestry and Parks, and I would like to invite Albertans to share their thoughts on a new plan for parks. Parks are for people to explore, experience, and discover. Whether you enjoy biking, camping, admiring the scenery, or other activities, provincial parks have something for everyone. As more people visit Alberta's parks and try newer recreation trends like e-scooters or comfort camping, our provincial parks system must grow and evolve. So we are creating a modernized plan for parks to help consider the impact of new technologies, support world-class visitor experiences, and conserve our parks for current and future generations. This plan will offer a long-term strategic vision for the next decade, and we want your feedback. We need a modern vision that can help develop more recreation opportunities in our parks, such as adding more camping capacity and supporting activities such as kayaking and canoeing, while increasing parks access to support our province's visitor economy in a sustainable way. A new plan will also help ensure that park policies and legislation can address challenges around demands for new and existing activities. Collecting diverse input from around the province will help us to better understand how we should be addressing key principles, including accountability, equitable access, reconciliation, and sustainability within our park system. Albertans can share their feedback on the new plan for parks by completing the online engagement survey. I encourage all Albertans to participate in this engagement to help shape the future of our provincial parks together.
Visitors to Edmonton have a new attraction on the grounds of the Alberta Legislature. Just in time for the Canada Day weekend, the newly rebuilt reflecting pool is ready for people to enjoy. The new water feature incorporates Alberta's natural beauty in a new landmark for generations of Albertans and Canadians to enjoy. Well, that does it for the Alberta Update this week. A look at what's happening in your province and what your government is up to. I am your host, Bruce McAllister, always pleased to bring these to you. Thank you for tuning in. You can find us on YouTube, of course, or the Premier's YouTube channel, and we always post it to the socials the day after, so you can watch it there as well. And we should let you know that we are contemplating taking a little bit of a break over the summer months to retool and refresh. And so if we indeed decide to do that with the update, we'll let you know online. You'll be able to find out if we are taking a break, but we will definitely be back in September either way. And as always, we appreciate your support. We appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day.